In this demonstration, using cascading style sheets, we're going to create a little bit of layout with what we have on the page here. And I'm just going to take this top section of text here, what can I create for you, and put it in what looks like a left column, and then take the creating compelling branding and the following paragraph and put it together in a right column, if you will. And I'll decorate them. We'll throw in some background colors and so on, just to emphasize. And I just want to look at the code though to see how this is exactly put together. And I can see this top section is an h1 tag nested inside of an aside tag. So I think what I should do is create a couple of class styles so that I can apply them directly to the specified tags. That way, if I want to create another aside tag, it will not take over that tag and style it. It'll only be styled with the class style, and that has to be applied directly inside of the opening tag. And if I'm looking at this bottom section here, this other section rather, it's an h2 tag and a paragraph tag also wrapped inside of this section tag right here. So I will apply a style to this section tag and a style to this aside tag, and they'll both be classes. So let's go over to our CSS designer, and I'll create a couple of new classes for that. So I'm just going to go over to my selectors. I'm just going to knock that down there by double clicking so I can see more of my CSS designer. And you can see I already have some existing styles. I already created a style sheet previously, and I'm going to work with that style sheet and keep my styles inside of there. So I'll just come down to selectors and create a new selector. And I want it to be a class, so I'll start with a period. And I'll call this one aside left. I'm just using some camel case here. And hit my enter key. And just start, I'm just going to establish some widths, at least on this one. And I'll use percentages. So by using percentages, I'm going to have to do a little math and make sure that all of my elements on the page using percentages do not exceed 100%. So this one I'll make 30% and hit my enter key. And of course nothing happens yet until I apply it in the code. So let me show you how that kind of works and some shortcuts that you can have. So I'm going to just insert into that opening aside tag and just leave a space and start to type in class. But you can see here as I start to type, the code hints come up, and I can hit my return key to accept that. And what that does is it completes the syntax, and it puts my I-beam inside of the quote marks, and on top of that, any class styles I have existing in this style sheet that's attached will appear as a list here. So I just have the one, so I can select that, and boom, I've quickly applied a class style to that tag. And you can see class equals aside left. You don't put the period in here, but it auto-filled anyway, so I don't even have to worry about it. So what I'll do now is create another style and apply it to the other side. So I'm going to go back to my styles, and again under selectors I'll type in period, and I'll call this one section since I'm using the section tag. Section right, and again in camel case. There we go. I hit my enter key, and this one I'll start with 70%, but I'm pretty sure I'm going to have to make some adjustments a little later on. But we'll start with 70%. So I'll go to percent and type in 70 and hit my return key. I'll apply this now, but there are going to be some issues that we'll see very quickly. But let me just go over to section. Type a space, start to type in the word class, and it appears as a code hint, so I can hit my enter key, which fills in the syntax. And you see here now I have two different class styles to choose from, and I'm using my arrow keys, but I can also go over with my mouse and select it. So it's section right that I want to appear to this section. And I don't know if you noticed, but it brought this down to 70%. Now the problem is I want this on the right side. So I'm going to use the float feature. So I will go back to that style and add to it. So section right. And the float feature is under the layouts. I just need to scroll down here a bit. And here it is here. So we have left, float right, float none. So I will hit float right. And now it bumps over to the right. Just to make this a little easier to see, I think I'll come down to my backgrounds, and for now I will throw in a white background. So I hit my return key, and there's the white background. It's probably a good time to do a save all. I can see my style sheet here, and I can see that things are being added to it. The green ones here are again my class styles. So let's just do a save all and continue. So I'm going to go back to source code right now. So once again, just to repeat, I attach the class style to the aside tag as well as a class to the section tag. Now I'm just going to refine this section right class style a bit further. I want to move this out from the edge, and I want to give a bit of breathing space inside of the box as well. And we'll do that with margins and padding. So I'm just going to scroll up here a bit to my margins. And let's see here. I think I'm going to work with 30% or 30 pixels from the top rather. Hit my tab key. And I'm going to use percentages on the left and the right. So on the right here, I think I'll go with 5%. Hit my tab key again to enter that. And on the left, I'll go with 1%. Now I do need to keep track of my total percentages here. Remember, this is 70% wide. So I've just added another 5 there, which is 75, and 1 there, which is 76. And this is already at 30, so something's going to have to give in a little while. So once I do my padding, I think I'll come back and address this and bring it down to 50-ish, and we'll see how that looks. So the padding is the space inside the box, and I don't like that text running right up to the edge. So I'm going to add just say 2.5% all around, and I can use the shorthand here, and 2.5%, and hit my enter key, and that adds it all around. I could have also just clicked the chain in the middle and typed it in one side, and again it would have filled all of them, but you can see here it looks a little better there. And now I will narrow that width. So we'll go back and we'll change this 70 down to say, I'll try 50, hit my return key. And that looks good. I could probably afford to take it up a little bit. I'll go up to 55 maybe. There we go, 55. And I'm going to do a save all right now. Save all, and we can continue. So with this, I'm going to actually make it a little fancier, if you will. I'm going to put in a gradient background, so it'll go from white to transparent. So let's just try that. I'll click on my section right here, and we'll go to background. So I'll remove this one with the little garbage can, and I'll go to my gradients. Now some of this might pop a little bit outside of the capture zone here a little bit. My gradient slider is to the far right. Here, I'm going to cheat this a bit. I'll pull this in a little bit so you see some of my fancy background here. Okay, so there's my gradient slider, and actually I'm going to click away again so I can bring that up a little higher so you can see more of it. There we go. Okay, the challenges of capture software. So what I want to do is I want to take this white, and I'll leave it white at the top, but I also want to make it white at the bottom. So you click on the little color swatch there, and I'll just turn that to white, and then I'm going to take my gradient slider and bring it down, let's say about there. That's roughly 20-25%. And maybe I can move this down actually, so it brings a little bit more white at the top, and it just affects the bias. Okay, and I'll hit my return key, and there we go. And that does look a little bit nicer. If I want to edit that, I can always go back here. And let's say the bottom here, I'll click on the bottom tab again, and I'll make it a little more transparent there. Okay, hit my return key, and there, that adjustment's made. So it looks a little better. And let me maybe round out one of these corners here. I'll go back to layout. Actually, I think it was in background. Somewhere, it's up here somewhere. There we go. And let's try just the upper right corner. I'll try maybe, actually I'll just drag until I like it. And I say around the 25 pixels looks good. So I'll live with that. And again, I'll do save all. So now I want to deal with this left side here because I don't like, how it's not very lined up. So I'm going to take that and actually float it to the left. So let's go into the side left selector, and I'll go up to layouts, and we'll just scroll down here, and I'll float that to the left. And you see how that accommodated. So now they're basically beside each other. And maybe I'll add some margins here. So I'll go down to my margins, And let's see here. I'll try 5% on the left. I'll go percentages and 5%. And let's see here. I'll try 1% on this side, and it looks like I'm probably going to have to bring this down to 50 again. Or I can bring this down to say 25 overall. This one here, we'll just type in 1%. But you see where the math comes in. It can't exceed 100% or you start to get things pushing other things down. And at the top, let's see, again, I'll just go with 30 pixels, same as the other one. 30 pixels and hit my return key. And now let's go back up to the overall width and bring that down. Now I'm just going to drag my slider here slowly. There we go. And I'm at 26. I could probably go as high as 28. Yeah, so I'll just play it safe and I'll go down to 26. There we go. Again, save all. And the last thing I want to do is this footer here. I actually want the footer to be underneath everything. So again, the clear command is what I'll apply, and I'll set it to clear both. And that way it will not allow anything to float on the left or the right, and it'll have to just kind of bump itself down below any elements that are floating left and right. So let's see here, footer. I'll select the footer, and we'll just go down here and clear left and right, and hopefully this will do it. There we go. So that pushed it down because, again, the clear does not allow anything on the left or the right, so it has to go down to the next available space. And that's a little bit of layout that you can do. There's a lot more potential with layouts and some of the other properties, but using the float and the clear commands, we were able to create two columns here, and we just decorated it a bit and moved it about and styled it with respect to padding and margins. Okay, so that's our exercise on creating a bit of CSS layout